This is Why Am I a Mets Fan? A podcast hosted by Samantha Croston and Ashley Wenskoski.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to an extra innings edition of the Why Am I a Mets Fan podcast. That's Ashley Wenskoski. I'm Samantha Croston, and we are sports reporters in Syracuse. This is a Mets-based podcast, but we did, if you've been following us for a little while, do some coverage when the Mets were facing the Dodgers, and we heard from Dodgers fans that they wanted us to keep it going in the postseason. So we told you guys we'd do 1 or 2 episodes, and here we are to do just that. We're coming to you after 2 games have been played in the World Series, and the Dodgers won both of them. They now lead the World Series 2-0 at this time. How are you feeling?
Yes, hello to our Mets fans, Dodgers fans alike. Certainly a World Series that is pertinent to us with the Yankees, the team across town, the Dodgers, the team, of course, that sent the Mets home for the year. I'd like to ask all my Mets fans, how are we doing, Mets fans? Have we recovered? Has the hangover subsided? I'm not sure. I would say for me, it still hurts. It still always will hurt, but it has a little just based on how good this Dodgers team is. I mean, we have seen it everywhere. I almost can't believe this Mets team forced a Game 6 against this Dodgers team. They literally look unstoppable. The Yankees about 1 loss away from putting on a disaster class in this World Series.
That's a nice, crisp new word.
Disaster class. Thank
Love
you.
to
I'll be
hear
here all night.
Love to hear that on a Sunday. And for our Mets fans, just so you guys know, or anyone else who's interested, we will be doing our normal Mets episode that will come out on Tuesday. But we thought this was a good time. The Yankees traveling back to New York right now, as are the Dodgers. And the Dodgers have put on a freaking show through the first 2 games. In Game 1, the final score was 6-3. It went to extras, and Freddie Freeman was the hero. And yesterday, the Yankees offense was an abomination, and the Dodgers were able to win 4-2. What have been any general takeaways from what you've seen through the first 2 games? And then we'll get into the specifics.
Let's touch on, first of all, the fact that this Yankees team, I mean, just kind of appears to be overmatched. I know that's easy to say when the Dodgers have a 2-0 lead in this series, but honestly, I will sit here right now and say that I think this series is Dodgers in 5. I think the Yankees will pull out 1. I'd be surprised if the Dodgers swept. That's hard to do. But honestly, I wouldn't be that surprised. I think Dodgers in 4 or 5. I really don't see the Yankees coming back to win this.
To your point, it softens the blow of the Mets losing that series to the Dodgers a little, because this kind of proves to me about the Yankees what I already felt like I knew. I know all year people were saying, best record in the American League, this and that. They're just not as good as they appear to be.
Yeah.
When you actually watch them play, at least as often as I have, I'm just not seeing anything that's really blowing me away. I have said this for months and months that I felt like they just had 2 good hitters. And at the time that I was saying that months ago, it was Judge and Soto. Aaron Judge has been nowhere to be freaking found.
Missing in action.
I mean, this entire postseason, but in the World Series, it's arguably been worse. He's had 1 hit. He was awful last night. And he is the captain of this team.
Yeah.
People have been asking the question on many media shows across the country, if Aaron Judge doesn't show up, can the Yankees win the World Series without him? And the answer is a resounding fat effing no. Like, he is the captain of the team. The captain before him in this situation always showed up in clutch moments. That's something you need to take pride in. How many times have we been begging and aching for Francisco Lindor to be the captain? And why do we always say that other than what he does off the field?
Because he always shows up.
Because he always shows up in clutch moments. Zippo. And I'll still say they have some good hitters, 2, maybe 3, because they do have Stanton now, who I feel like has really shown out. That guy's like the freaking Hulk. Never realized how strong he was, and it's actually cool to watch him play. But oh my God, some of these guys are unwatchable. Volpe's at bats, horrific.
I know.
It's just not enough.
What I will say is, I think it's a sign of Yankees desperation. You have seen them, especially in that second game, kind of try to get scrappier. I think Chisholm with a couple stolen bases, some small ball attempts. But let's be real, that's just not the Yankees. The Yankees are not a small ball team. I don't know if they ever have been. So their offense is certainly not doing what it needs to do. But also, I mean, I think this series is less about the Yankee shortcomings and more about just how good this Dodgers team is. I mean, they just find ways to score runs every single night. So much was made before the NLCS, before they faced the Mets, about how maybe their starting pitching was their weak point. That just hasn't even been the case. Yamamoto was dominant last night. Jack Flaherty certainly with a formidable showing in Game 1 that kept them in that game up until the very end, until extras. So this Dodgers team, if their flaw was the starting pitching, that appears to not be true, which leads me to believe that they don't really have a flaw.
They don't really have a flaw. And I think we knew this going into it, that once you let the Dodgers get up 1, 2, okay, 2 runs maybe, but like 3 runs, you're cooked. There's no way that you're going to come back from that. In game 1 specifically, like you say, it's more about the Dodgers and how good they are. I honestly think it's 50-50. Because again, you look back at this game 1, this was a game that the Yankees had in their hands and lost. And when you look back on the 2024 documentary, when the Dodgers do eventually win this World Series, you're going to look back on this game 1 and be like, that was the time and the place where they should have had it in the bag, and Freddie Freeman blew them away. Like, yes, you could talk about a lot of what was talked about that game was some of the management as far as who was pitching in the late innings and who should have been pitching. They put in Nestor Cortez against Freddie Freeman, and Cortez hadn't pitched in a while leading up to that. I understand that. At the same time, I guess it goes back to your point. I almost felt like Freddie Freeman was destined to have a big moment there either way. You start looking into this guy's story and just some of the things he's even been through in his personal life. I think a lot of people were rooting for him. But I mean, dude, it was a grand slam. It was a grand salami.
The first grand salami in a walk-off grand slam in World Series history, might I add. Yeah, I have something to say that to the Dodgers fans that have been tuning into this podcast. Freddie Freeman used to be a villain. Well, he still is a villain. He's actually a very large villain in the Mets character arc, okay? When he played for the Braves, now on the Dodgers, obviously that eliminated the Mets. But somehow, some way, you guys and this year's Dodgers run has forced me to like Freddie Freeman, which is the most unthinkable.
I really like him.
I don't even know how. I mean, the guy was on the Braves. Now he's cooking the Mets on the Dodgers. It's crazy. But to your point, what's gone on in his personal life and all that really has elevated his stock in my mind. Everything that he went through this year with his son, getting that moment, and the moment at the end of that game with his dad. Did you see that? I mean, it was just his quote after the game. He said, he's been there since I was a little boy, throwing batting practice to me every day. This isn't my moment. It's his dad's moment. They're like holding hands through the net. Like, I mean, the chills.
I didn't know. Do you know his mom died?
No, I didn't know that, no.
His mom died when he was 10 years old from melanoma. So it's
awful.
like, I know he really has been through a lot in his life. And I think you feel that way about a lot of players. The more you get to know them and get to know their backstory, the more you feel invested in their success. And I do feel like I have kind of looked into more Dodgers players than I ever thought I would because of the Met series and now what's happened here. But to your point, yeah, I mean, you just to wrap up the whole Yankees thing, is it because of the Yankees shortcomings or is it because the Dodgers are that good? I think the honest to God answer is both. I think they let game 1 slip in a big way. But I think in game 2, they just gave the hell up. Like it wasn't a good effort. They barely were hitting until they did try. I will say to the Yankees' credit, they tried to go on a late inning run there. In the 9th inning, Soto singled to right, Judge struck out swinging, of course. Stanton singled to left, and Soto scored, and that's the closest they were really able to come, was 4-2. But Chisholm, even there, there was a couple guys who were really going on a run. But yeah, without Aaron Judge getting some kinds of hits here, I think against a Dodgers lineup that we've mentioned 1 through 9 really is good, and anybody can be the hero. No, they're not going to win the World Series without him. The answer is no.
I think we'd also be remiss if we didn't talk about the pitching on the Yankees end. You mentioned the heat that Aaron Boone took for that decision at the end of game 1. Certainly deserved. Garrett Cole pitched not a gem, but 6 innings, 1 earned run, 4 strikeouts in game 1. Certainly kept them great. Kept them in that game, got them to extras, got them to where they had a good chance to win that game. Carlos Rodon in game 2 was just not the same. He gave up 4 earned runs, 6 hits, 3 home runs in 3 1/3 innings. So when you get a clunker, if you're the Yankees, you just came off that walk-off grand slam in game 1, then you go out there in game 2 and your starting pitcher just doesn't have it and doesn't even keep you in the game. I am going to say it, they got screwed a little bit by the starter in game 2.
And the problem is, and I knew this was going to happen, but you see the rollover effect of wasting a Garrett Cole gem.
Yeah.
That's the game they should have won. They lost it. Now, and I'm not saying, listen, Rodon didn't do well. He was in there for, for at less than, I think, 4 full innings, and he didn't do well. He was giving up home runs, but now he's coming into a tough spot when it could have been a different spot because they could have won game 1. Again, you can't look back. I know they keep saying they're going to look forward. I know they keep saying that they're going to figure things out, but you need to switch some things up fast. And I don't know what the answer is or how much time you really have to figure some of this stuff out. And I'm telling you, you guys have talked earlier in the season about, we've had this discussion before about do fans boo, Mets fans boo. And I know that it's happened a little bit with Lindor in the beginning of the season. You want to see someone get booed right out of the stadium? Watch Aaron Judge strike out 3 times in Yankee Stadium in game 3, and you will see a goddamn show.
Yeah.
This is New York City. The pressure is higher. It's the same way in LA.
Yeah.
This is a big deal. When you come to New York City, it's the real deal. It's the people who are going to cheer for you the loudest, and they are going to boo you worse than the opposing fans. Jets, I mean, it's just that kind of fan base.
And it's a Yankees fan base, dare I say, I'm not going to say starved because as a Mets fan, I think that's ridiculous, but they haven't been here in a little while. So in terms of the Yankees standards, they are hungry for something. Now, I have something else to say. There are people who I think the Yankees are going to be saved by going back to Yankee Stadium for the next 3 games. I don't think so. The Dodgers showed us in the NLCS that it quite literally doesn't matter. They took 2 out of 3 at Citi Field. I don't think going back to Yankee Stadium matters. I don't think the Yankees lost those 2 games because they were in LA. I don't think LA won those 2 games because they were in LA. The Dodgers are just good. They're going to win wherever. I don't think the environment has really any impact on the game. Could I see the Yankees, like I said, pulling out 1 at Yankee Stadium, making this a 5-game series? Yes, but I will tell you right now, I would be astounded, shocked, too stunned to speak if the Yankees took this to 6 or 7 games.
And here's the problem too, when you talk about pressure, some of these guys who have been struggling, honestly, Volpe had some horrific at-bats last night. Some of these guys who are really trying to get something going here, prove they have some sort of legacy in the postseason. I would almost argue it's harder going up there at Yankee Stadium when you've already struck out twice, you're getting booed, and now you need to put on a show. That's tough. And honestly, the Dodgers, I know there's no way to tell Yankees fans who are drinking and paid $1,000 to see nothing to stop booing, but the Dodgers are going to love it.
Yeah.
They're going to eat it the hell up. I think it's going to make it easier for them to play, if anything,
Yeah, I agree completely. The Dodgers are we just keep saying it, but they just appear to be that powerhouse team, which I know I did not say going into the NLCS. I said that I would rather face the Dodgers than the Padres. I ate those words
You'd rather face the Padres than the Dodgers, right?
Yes.
Okay.
No. I'd rather, no.
Oh, you
I'd
did
rather,
want to face the Dodgers?
Yes,
okay.
Which I ate those words a long time ago. I said I was wrong, but that's because the Padres put the Dodgers, they were the only team really, even more than the Mets, that really put the Dodgers in a scary zone. So coming off of that, that's how I felt. But ever since then, through the NLCS, through the first few games of this World Series, it just looks like the Dodgers' year, and I really don't think there's any way around it. I don't see a world where the Dodgers are starting Walker Buehler in Game 3. Buehler was good against the Mets, had some troubles against the Padres in the NLDS, but I don't see a world where the Dodgers lose this series.
This is also why I said that I felt like if the Mets could get through the Dodgers, then they could win the World Series, and I still believe that.
I still believe that too.
I'm not going to be that old man who comes in here saying about what could have been. End of the day, the Dodgers won, and that is what it is. But what I am saying is, as a Mets fan, and having a Mets team that wasn't even supposed to make it that far, at least I can walk away from this whole situation and feel like I still have something to be proud of. If you're a Yankees fan right now, and it stays on this course and this trajectory, and it is truly Dodgers in 4, maybe 5, that's really not a lot to be proud of. This is not a good effort.
Every time I watch Yankees baseball, and I said this going into the playoffs, I said the Yankees to get to this World Series pissed me off because they didn't have to play anyone. Now I understand how seeding works and brackets work. I got it, okay? But they've had to play the Royals and the Guardians. They just did not face the level of competition that the Mets or Dodgers faced. I mean, you want to say that's because the NL was a better league this year, whatever you want to say. It's just true. They have not had to face anywhere near the caliber of the Dodgers. I would argue even the Mets playing the Phillies, even the Dodgers playing the Padres, those 2 teams were better than the competition that the Yankees faced. I know the Guardians put up a little bit of a fight, but going into this series, that's what I said the Yankees' downfall was going to be, and I still believe that. Every time I watch Yankees baseball, and I thought this all summer long, even with the best record in the American League, you can cook me all you want. I watch the Yankees, and I feel uninspired.
Me too.
In particular, compared to the Mets and now the Dodgers. Uninspired, tired, not wired.
Completely uninspired. And honestly, I feel like at the first sign of struggle, they give up.
Yeah.
I don't really like the mentality. And I know what they say to the cameras and I hear them say to the media, we're going to figure it out and we're going to change things. But also think about from an actual team standpoint, how hard that must be. I really thought about this. I'm like, if Aaron Judge is the captain, and I know they still respect him and they still listen to him, and I know he put up video game numbers in the regular season. I get all that. But if Aaron Judge has stunk it up, which he has, and then he's going to go to all these players and say, we need to perform better, what's to stop them from in their head thinking, you need to perform better?
It's my analogy is, and we've been on this podcast a number of times, I don't want Pete Alonso to be the captain of the Mets ever, even if they do re-sign him, because he is often not that guy, comparable to a Judge. I would want a Lindor because he always is that guy, comparable to, I don't really know who on the Yankees, maybe you want to say Juan Soto, but that's just not a good example because he hasn't been there for long enough and he might leave. Which we should get into because, oh boy, is this a fun topic when you consider that Juan Soto's two biggest suitors other than the Yankees are probably going to be the Dodgers and the Mets.
And let's also say it, Juan Soto is actually doing well.
Yes.
He is doing well in the postseason. He is competing. He is putting up numbers. Honestly, this is the kind of thing that, would impact my decision. Whether you're going into this and fighting hard and having a good World Series here, or you're rolling over and losing in 4 or 5 games.
Yeah.
I think that Juan Soto is a competitor. I think
agree.
he wants to compete. I don't know if the thing that's the most, and I guess we'll find this out, but I'm not sure that the thing that's the most important to him is playing for a storied team. I think he wants to play for a winning team that fights hard and competes. I'm not saying the Yankees aren't a winning team. I understand historically they are. I understand this year they are. But this fight compared to the fight that the Mets were putting up against the Dodgers is just worth noting. It is.
Yeah, I think he wants to win. I think, to be fair, he'd have a chance to win in LA or with either New York team moving forward. I thought it was interesting. I saw a John Heyman article with the New York Post talking about this exact topic, how basically the Yankees and the Mets are kind of the favorites to sign him. They probably have the deepest pockets, but the Dodgers can certainly afford him. And it came out this week, a source said that they will make a play for Soto if he's interested, which would break my heart, and then that's a whole nother topic. All I have to say is,
I hope he doesn't go there.
if we're only me too. If we're only talking about, especially when you consider that I could see future NLCS as being Dodgers Mets in the next 5 to 10 years. If we're only talking about the Mets and the Yankees, however, let's just put the Dodgers over there for a second in terms of competing for Juan Soto in free agency this offseason. I will tell you, it certainly cannot hurt the Mets. And I know Steve Cohen knows this. If the Yankees lose a World Series in 4 or 5 games and you have the offer and a lot of money offering you to go across town and bat between Francisco Lindor and Mark Vientos, 2 guys who, yes, I know, lost in the NLCS, but had a lot of really fun, really inspired baseball down the stretch, which I know the Yankees have to some extent. But the World Series loss is going to affect that decision. I'd be surprised if it didn't.
The Mets are also allowed to have facial hair. It's just more fun.
Right, that happens too. Yeah. The Yankees are just too buttoned up. Like
I gotta be honest, it's so creepy. It is really so weird. They all look so weird
organization.
without facial hair. I'm like, let them grow beards. These are grown men. They're not supposed to all have baby faces. It's odd.
That, and they're just so effing buttoned up. Can you imagine the Yankees having a Candelita concert post game? It would never happen. The Yankees would never adopt Grimace. They just don't. They're not fun. The Yankees are not
lame.
fun.
They're so lame. And the Dodgers, certified fun. Cool organization, enjoyable to watch, fun stories, players to root for. Yankees, totally lame.
They don't have a Grimace, but yeah.
Right. But still, you know what I mean? Worthwhile.
I agree, yeah.
Anything else that sticks out to you through the first 2 games, and then we'll wrap it up.
Shohei Ohtani certainly gave the Dodgers a scare last night with that jammed, I guess, left shoulder into second base. But the Dodgers came out today, Sunday, and said that he is fine and he will be playing in Game 3 because, of course, he is, because he's an unstoppable force of nature. I would have been shocked, honestly, unless Ohtani was really hurt if he didn't come out there for the rest of the series. So
thank God he's playing. I really mean that. Thank God.
Yeah.
Like, I would not like it if he wasn't playing, because then all of a sudden you have a World Series that almost doesn't feel fair, and then even if the Yankees win, it feels like they shouldn't have. I need him to be playing.
But the whole, drummed up what we were mad at as Mets fans, right? It felt like this was the script. Ohtani, Judge, New York, LA, the World Series. Ohtani, there's been no Judge. So that just hasn't been a fair fight, as you said. But yeah, Ohtani, I'm glad to see Ohtani back out there. Obviously, one of the best that we're probably ever going to see in our lifetime. It feels like if the Dodgers win this series, which they are well on track to do, he should be out there for it. So thankfully, that was just a minor hitch.
I totally agree. Good time to just tell you can find us anywhere on social media, on YouTube. The handle is all the same. It's at YMetsPod. And whether you're just here now or you've been following us for a while, we are a podcast that, for the most part, focuses on the Mets throughout the regular season. But because of the feedback that we've gotten from you guys in the offseason, we will be doing some more generalized baseball topics. So please subscribe, come back, because there's a good chance that we'll be doing some topics that pertain to your team in some way.
I feel a weird kinship to Dodgers fans, which is ludicrous to say considering what they did to my heart and soul this year, but they were just, I don't know, so great to us in the comments. So like, I just feel a weird affliction to the Dodgers, and that's really just odd.
I know we've said this once in the past, but just to really double down on it and say it again, like, we were, as many of you know, this is a two-man band, and we do everything from the post-production to the notes beforehand. Everything is us, social media included. It's us two and our one intern, Dan the Man. We essentially got more views than we ever have in the month of October, and so much of that was because of the Dodgers fan base. So whether you're tuning in for your fan base or someone else, the fact that you would tune in and help this podcast like matters to us and means a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. We are going to, tomorrow's episode, we're going to talk about Mets free agency, who we'd want to see come back, who we don't want to see come back. We're going to run through it. So if you're a Mets fan here, get ready for that. Buckle up, because I have thoughts.
We film that tomorrow. It will drop on Tuesday.
Yes, Tuesday morning.
So come back on Tuesday if you want some of that, and we'll hope to do one more World Series episode based on who wins. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you back here on Tuesday.